before going into sustainable development theory of practice, asking if there are questions about yesterday's class. I will try to answer. So I was kind of freezing today in the morning. This country, I thought it was very hot, very warm, and today I woke up with 8 degrees. And it was, for me, it's very different because we live in a country, in a tropical, where when we are very cold and kind of freezing, we are around 24, 25 degrees. Then above zero, no below. And then it's a new experience. But let's see if you have any questions from yesterday. Crystal, clear. That's good because then I can ask everybody. Any of you.
I have one question.
Very good. She is very clever. She avoids that I will ask her. Okay, very good. Go ahead.
What do you mean by structural capital?
By what?
Structural capital.
Well, in general, the resources and on capital could be understood as a physical capital and also not only physical capital but also finance resources or capital. And we can even go further and talk about natural capital and human capital. Then when we talk about structural capital, it means more the money, the bonds, actions, and stocks, and so forth. This is more.
And what is relational capital?
What is what? Relation to what?
Capital. Relation capital.
Well, let me. I don't remember the context where I was talking about relation capital, but
You explain about human capital and structural capital and like.
okay. Then there's a relation capital.
Yes, yes.
You were giving me the context.
Yeah, you told about 3 types of capitals. That is human capital and structural capital, and third one was relational.
Let me see if I understood. The 3 kind of capitals, how do they relate among themselves or with innovation?
Yeah, with innovation.
Well, each one of them have their own, their particular role, no? The human capital we understood or we understand as the people and their minds and their knowledge and all the within tacit knowledge that they have. Therefore, it's a very important for producing innovation and producing changes. No? But many changes are also need financial resources. And then the financial capital is also very important. And you will see that there are programs from banks or from finance institutions that give special funding for innovation or for small and medium businesses. Actually, there are also venture capital that bet for something new, positive that may happen. And also there are some people or some banks that have a risk capital that is increasing according to the potential of some innovations that they are not existing yet, but that may be existing and may be important for a patent or for a new product or new service. Finally, the man-made capital or structured capital linked to buildings and laboratories and other areas that are also important. Then all the 3 are very important for innovation. Obviously. Okay. Then we start with this. Everybody knows what sustainable development is, no? We have been talking a lot about that. But it's like yesterday. we were yesterday talking about competitiveness, and most of you are economists or engineers or agriculture experts and so forth, and then probably most of you say, okay, yeah, competitiveness, no problem. My country or my agriculture or my product is going to be more competitive to others, and if I get more competitiveness, I have advantages in the market. But when we start reviewing carefully what competitiveness means, and then we say, okay, we need to do innovation. And then everybody knows what innovation is. But when we were talking yesterday, I hope you discovered that, well, please go ahead, there are more seats. Innovation also were not a very simple definition. You need to review that are different typologies of innovation, different ways of production innovation, different way of managing them, and that in order to have innovation, that it seems very easy, you need to have a new knowledge. And then you want to have new knowledge, you say, okay, new knowledge, very good, everybody know what knowledge is. No, and we reviewed yesterday, and it was more detailed and complicated than we suppose. But the same happened with sustainable development. Sustainable development is one of the terms that we are using all the time now, back and forth. But what do we really mean? And if they think sustainable development is one thing, and you think it's another thing, then we are talking about the same sustainable development, but a different thing in reality. That's why it is important to talk about this and to review if it is really only theory, only a dream, only utopia. You say utopia, yeah? Or something real, something in practice. I was in one conference, organizing one conference some long time ago, and there was one very clever woman that very well known at the time, and probably now too, she already passed away, Donella Meadows. And she made the following exercise. I will not ask you to do the same exercise, but please try to follow. We were in a big seminar. We were around 1,000 people. Like here, huge. And she said, sustainable development. Everybody knows what. Close your eyes, she said. I don't need you to close your eyes, but she asked, close your eyes, breathe deeply. Think what is sustainable development. Have you ever seen something that is sustainable development in your sector, in your geographical area, in whatever? It doesn't matter what you are thinking really on the definition, but think something that is sustainable development, but that is real in your mind, that is happening. Then you probably start thinking that there is almost nothing that is really sustainable development, but something you may find. But all those patches that we find all around the world, if we get them together, we're really changing towards sustainable development. Though it is so small in reality. Then sometimes many people abandon the idea of sustainable development because it's no work, it doesn't work, and there are many criticisms about sustainable development. However, if we still believe that we should have our work serving not only our generations, but also future generations, and that this is a planet that we should live much better than we receive it when we will abandon it, then we must go thinking hardly in how to really transform our non-sustainable practices into a more sustainable ones. Now, let's see what has been happening around that and where this is coming from. Let's see if I can do here. Yeah, the content of the presentation is a brief history of economic paradigms, environmental impacts of techno-economic paradigms, sustainable development in itself, bioeconomy, circular economy, ecological economics, or green economy, and the overlap between economic concepts in this new era of sustainability, bioeconomy, for instance, in the example in Costa Rica, and some examples in the forest sector and coffee production and ecoins. Probably ecoins we leave it for later, for the afternoon, and then we go with these final recommendations. Okay, then let's talk about briefly. Here it is. Here there is a space. You need to go here, and please come. Okay. Very well.
Come this way.
Okay, let's think about this small history or brief history of economic paradigms to the present day. There have been developed a long time along the history different paradigms that we are living and that we are working, and the way the world is functioning, especially pulled by the economic science and the economic behavior. There are what we call four industrial revolutions. No? First, second, third, and fourth industrial revolution. We are talking about that we are in the fourth industrial revolution. Is everybody heard about that? No? Does anybody has not heard that we are in the fourth revolution? Everybody heard about that? Okay, well, what happened with the first and the second and the third? How did they disappear? How did they appear? Well, the first is related very much to the steam, no? Third revolution, to the emerge of the steam production. All the different trains that were using them and industries and so forth. This is more or less what we call the first industrial revolution, that is very linked to the development of UK and those countries where the first revolution were impacting. No? The second revolution is when electricity emerged. And of course, electricity was not only important for light, for working longer hours, for working at night, but also to do many other processes with electricity. Of course, it is not like a line where one finishes and the other starts, but it's more like these are conventional marks or conventional points where we can differentiate one revolution for the next one. Please come in. And there it is. Okay, perfect. Thank you. And the third revolution is when computers are. When computers are with us, especially mainframe computers, this big, huge tool that was very difficult to manage. Almost nobody has a computer, no? The computers were being transformed later on into desk computers and portable computers and laptops and so forth. But before it was a big computer. Then this is the third revolution coming in. Of course, impacting the whole production system and the whole demand also, and making mathematical numbers, calculations and so forth faster, quicker, and speeding up all the processes of production. No? Then this is a important area where the third revolution started. Some of us still that still alive live in the past in the third industrial revolution, because, for instance, when I was in undergraduate at the university, our professor in econometrics asked us to make some surveys and some statistical and some analysis of deviation and analysis of the different surveys that we made. We didn't have a computer. Then the other university in my country, I am in the Universidad Nacional, the Universidad de Costa Rica, the other university, the one that was older and bigger, they had a great computer. And it was a whole building for a computer. And then we were there and were asking the people to help us to include all the statistics and all the numbers and so on. And there were some white cards perforated with a lot of holes and for making the calculations and so on. Of course, for all of you, this is a tale, okay? This is a story, but for me it was reality. And for me it was a reality to go from this third revolution into the fourth revolution, industrial revolution, where all the computers are handled now in your hand, because the telephone is not anymore the telephone. You have here, you can do many things here. You receive the email. It's a camera. It's a small computer somehow that you can manage. Yes, you ready?
Yes, Professor. I have just two questions. One question is, what is the approximate timeline for this?
What?
The approximate timeline for these industrial revolutions. And my second point is, so as I understand, so the main factor of this evolving is technology.
Yes.
So it is like we can say the four industrial / technology revolutions.
Yes, we are going to see exactly in the next transparency how the techno-productive paradigm is working. Because in fact, what has been happening, of course there are many other things that may show us the difference between one and other industrial revolution. Many things. The way the people work, the way the organizations are, the way the institutional framework behave, because each one is accommodating according to the new technology. Yeah? But many times you think that the technology is the driving force, yes, but also if some changes are appearing in the technology, and then other things are being evolved into a new organization, then this push for better efficiency of the technology and so forth. Let's think on the electricity. The work before was, I don't know, let's say 8 hours or 10 hours or 11 hours, because they needed to work with light. There was no electricity to have light at night. But once they have it, then they have longer shifts. Then the whole system changed. How the people were behaving, how the people were working, how the people were transported, how the exploitation was done. No, because let's say that many things in each one of the industrial paradigms are not necessarily plausible. Many times there are discoveries or emerge new products or services or innovations in general that later on we consider that were actually harming, affecting, impacting negatively the society or the environment or the economy. Okay. Then now in terms of time, well, when the steam was coming, I have here a professor of history, I think, then the steams were coming, let's say, 1500, 1600, no?
It started around 1600, I guess.
Okay, perfect. Okay, and the electricity then it would be like a 1700, okay, 200 years later. Computers is more like 19th or 20th century. Huh?
1950s.
1990? Okay.
20th century means 1990.
Okay. And now the fourth industrial revolution is the one that we are living in. Yeah, well, 2020, let's say, or 2000, no? Around that. Because what happened with the fourth industrial revolution is not, you say, well, it's the same than the computers. Yes, but now the computers are interacting in a different way. No? The IoT, or Internet of Things, is working. I mean, you can control the lights of your house with the telephone, okay? Or you can, in some places, ask for the groceries of your refrigerator when the refrigerator is getting empty. It does by itself, no? The refrigerator feels that there is no bags of milk or bags of orange juice, and then immediately send the request to the supermarket, and supermarket send it. Now it is also being sent by drone to your house, and things like that that are different, no? Or autonomous driving of the different vehicles. This is let's say, one step forward of what the third revolution was about. One step, no, many steps forward. Now, as he was saying, as he was pinpointing, these so-called industrial revolutions are related, well, of course, have been related to technology and energy, different sources of energy, because before it was carbon, no, or charcoal, and later on electricity is more steam or we got petrol and so on and so on. And now we are using also sun and wind, and when we are in the fourth revolution, then these are the changes that are really showing how each one of the industrial revolutions behave, known as techno-productive paradigm. Techno-productive because it's a change in technology that is impacting the production system. For instance, when the steam was present, then it's the steam engine, and then the railroad, then the telegraph, when the electricity was coming, and electricity, automobile and airplanes, chemical industries, modern medicine, computer science, robotics, artificial intelligence. And it follows, no? These are only examples of how each one of the paradigms were presenting or showing different manifestations. Of course, behind all of this is a huge change in how the people we are interacting with the production system. For instance, you can see here in the, let's say, left-hand view, this factory full of people working, and now in the right-hand side, full of modern robots or robots or electric arms that construct, in this case, some cars. Then you may ask, well, all the people lost the job, or how do they change in order to not be affected? What, for instance, education and universities especially should do in order to help the humankind or the human capital, as she was saying before, to be transformed. But, you know, like for instance, in my country, we had we start having in the, let's say it was 1990s or so, the international investment of capital, i.e. capital coming and investing in Costa Rica to develop chips and software and other things. But we needed to do in English. The whole manuals and communication with the people that were investing in the country needed to be managed in English. Then quickly the universities and the National Technical Institute were asked to please, there is a lot of work. Teach everybody to speak English. Yes, but how long does it take to learn English from zero? Then you need to anticipate many years ahead what things you need to change in order to really couple with the changes that are happening and the things that you want to actually change. Because also, it may be that it's not driven by demand, but it may be driven by supply. If you have a lot of people alphabetized in computer systems, then it's easier that international investment come to that country or to that region or so forth. Not only the factories or the industries change, also the cities change. Here you have Singapore, for instance, in the 1960s, and the same place is taking the picture, the new picture in the Singapore today. Same place. Oh, what happened? How was it transformed? And probably it happened here if you want to go to, I don't know, Delhi or other places around where nice buildings and new development is being produced. Now, is it just because it happened, or is it planned? What is really what you want? What sustainable development is guiding you to? This is what is important. If we're talking about here that knowledge has been changing our economic history and our technologies, well, now we are going to talk about sustainable development, or we are talking about it, and this is, but then sometimes we have no clear what it really is, which one is the one we want. In here we can say that we have positive changes that only come from knowledge and innovation. But somebody may also ask, or may also question, if the new city is good or not. Because you can get into the city and find a lot of garbage or a lot of water problems or I don't know, okay? But then this is important to consider. Therefore, there are also environmental impacts of this techno-economic paradigm. There are some people that have been studying this. I have it. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, I have a little bit of cough. I have asthma all the time. Then I even don't realize when I'm coughing sometimes. But you excuse me, please. But there are many theorists and professors and researchers reviewing and analyzing how the techno-economic paradigms are impacting the environment. And for instance, some of the authors, Carlota Perez, Richard Nelson, Bjorn Johnson, and others are talking about this theory of innovation and the technological change. Then we're somehow mixing the yesterday classes with the today ones. Then they have this other thing that is also important for him, that was asking what is the time period that we had in each one of the revolutions. Here is a time series, and we will have in the vertical axis the intensity of material use and the contamination. Then we may imagine how was steam produced in the first revolution. It was burning many things and then polluting all the air. And then it went down, and then second revolution says, okay, the electricity was we're producing with less contamination, less pollution, and less intensified material use. The third revolution even less, and the fourth revolution is that where you can find things that are polluting more, but there are also other things that you are polluting less. For instance, you have electric cars, and you say, well, very good, they are not making sound pollution, noise pollution, they are not making smoke, they are not making all the emissions of carbon dioxide and methane and other things that other emission invernadero. Let's see, I remember it in Spanish, but the effect of the gases in the atmosphere. And then, but if you analyze very deeply, then the electric car has other problems. Then it goes up, no? Also, then some things are less contaminated, produce less contamination, but other things produce more contamination. And then you need to review the balance from one to another, and you need to review what is really, if it is really helping or not. No? Especially now that we are thinking that the fourth revolution is not only related to technology such as ICT, information communication technology. It's not only related to computers, it's not only related to IoT, Internet of Things, but also, that's why it's in question mark. It should be included environmental technologies. Should we include also artificial intelligence? And therefore, in there, we can have a break because we have, this is the situation that we are living. Let's take into account our past. Let's learn from the lessons, positive and negative, from the past. And let's think in what we are talking when we talk about sustainable development. I think everybody say that at least there are 3 dimensions. Some people put 4 dimensions or 5 dimensions, but the basic ones are 3 dimensions. Economy, society or social well-being, and environmental or ecology. You can call it in different ways. Sometimes the people talk about a triangle. No? We may have a triangle where sustainable development can be this triangle where you have the 3 sides. One side is the economy, because you need to have production systems working and so forth. But then you need to have society or well-being. This economy should be not only to produce profits or produce new products, but it should be also to produce equity, distribution of income, better well-being. And then at the same time we can have environment. And then in the environment we should have care, we should be caring about ecology and the whole world. You think I'm crazy a little bit? No. But it's also my file for the future, okay, to show others that we were working. When I go back to my country, I need to show that I was working. Okay, here is an approach that we may call unidimensional, no? Because it's we have the 3 things in one dimension, and we may develop from there a controversy. Which dimension is more important? What do you think? Which is more important? Environment, more important. What do you think?
Economic perspective.
Economic perspective. Now you need to fix it. What do you think is more important? economics?
We cannot choose.
Do you?
Make a balance between all.
We should have a balance. Now what is the problem, huh? If you are saying environment, you say economics, you say economics, now you will say we should have a balance. What do you mean balance? All of them is equal or more or less?
Not, but we can try to
Take
make-
care of each other.
We can try.
Yes, sir. Instead of picking one, we can have a balance between all.
Bit louder than the other people hear you.
Yeah, sir. Instead of picking one, focusing on economy or society or environment, we should try to make a balance between all three dimensions.
Yeah, but what do you mean by balance? Equal, all of them the same size, or anyhow someone little bit bigger than the other?
No, if we are doing focusing on economic development, we can should keep in mind the environmental impacts also.
Just keep in mind. Is what you mean?
No, in the policy makers should keep in mind the
Policy makers or the
impacts
people
also.
really doing things?
The stakeholders, whether the society, the government, or the people, or the policy maker, all stakeholders are there.
They should have a balance.
Balance, yes.
Okay. But in the balance, you mean that all should be equally important.
Yes.
This is balance for you. All of them are equally important.
Yes.
Does anybody think that really society should be the first one? Yes?
I believe so, the environment, because the social being and society is in the environment and it is getting affected by the environment. And the economy is also coming up from environment, because when we have drought, when we have other problems in economy, obviously it is getting affected from the environment. And for example, increased carbon dioxide, gas emissions and all those things, and they are affecting economy and society and social well-being.
Okay. Uh-huh. Definitely is a controversy, huh? Because when I asked you at the beginning, when we started, close your eyes and think in one sustainable development example. I don't know the example you thought, but those examples probably took a little bit more on the environment, a little bit more on the well-being society, or a little bit more in the economy. Or maybe it has the mix and the balance that he's saying. But definitely we have a big discussion. Because if I'm talking with her, I'm saying, look at this, we need to make a policy for sustainable development, and she said, okay, the three elements, I imagine you say you agree with 3 dimensions, but then she will think, well, it's better to produce more, to have a better production, to have a better economy, in order to help society, and if I don't have money, then how can I take care of the environment? Then it's necessary to have resources to take care of the environment. Actually, the poorest people don't care very much about the environment. The richest people is supposed to be investing in taking care of the environment and so forth, okay? But if I ask her, okay, let's talk about a policy on sustainable development, and she was talking about environment, no? And then she's thinking immediately, yes, let's make a policy where we put some kind of restrictions in the use of the environment, and how the environment is used, how it should be controlled, and what kind of rules and regulations should we have. And then if we talk to you, then actually the policymakers will be in a big trouble, because they don't know what to do. If you talk to, I don't know here in India, but I know in my country, for instance, if you talk with the economic minister or secretary, and if you talk with the environment secretary, it's just like you're talking about 2 words different. And they are in the same government. They must sit in the same cabinet. No, I was minister, thanks to my dear president in Costa Rica, and but I was Minister of Labor. Let's say nothing to do with these 2 things, or yes, permanently be reviewing and seeing what was happening in the Ministry of Environment, in the Ministry of Economics, in the Ministry of Industry, and so forth, and how these affect the labor. Now, this is not a controversy that is in one country or other. It is worldwide, and it has been for a long time. And if you go to the library and ask the librarian to help you to find a book about sustainable development, she will come with a big pile of that, or books of that. And then if you say, well, I want just the definition, then everybody goes to the same definition. But the definition is also something to start with and create a controversy. Let's see a multidimensional approach. We have been talking about having the three balance, like you said. As you can see, the three circles are the same size. If you have a triangle, you are talking about isosceles. How do you say it? Please. Well then, please, loud. Isosceles. Isosceles triangle. But you may have a different triangle, no? That is a different, no? But let's think isosceles triangle or this the same size of the globes. But the other possibility is to have economy as bigger, because economists think and business people think that without a good economy growing, then it will not be possible to split the benefits, the resources, and it's not easy to take care of the environment. Generally, if you are talking to a straight economist, let's say the straight economist versus ecological economists or economists with environmental approach, they will think that this is the most important one because it would be complicated to split the resources to take care of the environment and to take care of the society. Now, the point is not to take care. To take care. Because this is an economic of natural resources or economic of environment approach. The other approach is this one. The third one is, as you see, within each other. There are the three areas: economy, society, and environment. And you will see that we have everything working within the environmental or the ecosystem. And then, of course, we have let's see, of course we will have limits. In here, we will have the limit. We should not go out of those limits. At what time we have the break? Am I late or?
No.
At what time we started?
10:50.
10:50. Then we stop at 10:15, okay? Or late.
Yes.
11:30.
Okay. But then the third approach is this one, where we have economy, society, and environment all together, and then we must take into consideration that the environment is the one that is giving us the constraints for that. Oh, very good. That's
This
very
is
good.
without sugar, though.
This is yours.
No, this is without sugar, but.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry for you that I'm not thinking.
Is it okay?
Thank you very much. Strong.
I'm double filtered.
Okay, then in here, what is important also is to see that we have actually running in reality the three different approaches. Some people think in one way, some people think in another way, some people think in another way. And then we need to handle and try to look for economic policies and environmental policies and social policies that are more in line. That's why also it came in the whole world, driven by the United Nations, the idea of having some different objectives for sustainable development. 17 objectives, as you know, and then where they put, in short, they put this to work. The planet, to protect the planet, to take care of the natural resources, and to be careful with the climate future. For the people, to end poverty and hunger, and all the forms of exploitation, and to have a dignity in the quality of life, to have a prosperous world, to ensure prosperous and fulfilling lives in harmony with nature, to have partnerships in order to do that among all the societies, and of course to have peace in the whole world. If I ask you again the same thing about the patches that you were thinking, which ones were they really fulfilling? Because for sure it's very difficult that they fulfill everything. We can see, I was reviewing today in the morning my cell, my communications, and there are many manifestations of unsustainability rather than sustainability. Of course, there are some of the sustainability, and we should push for more sustainability. But I don't think that what is happening at the global level are really helping to achieve this. Therefore, we need to strengthen what we call this Agenda 2030. No? That was signed by practically all the heads of state. And of course, it was not because they wanted that it would be developed right from the first day. It was a product of a history of efforts. This all started in 1987. 1987 with our common future. It was a book and an agreement done in Oslo, in Norway. It was also under the government of Gro Brundtland, the Prime Minister of Norway at the time. And then this was let's say, the beginning of 1987. 5 years later, 2002, it was the meeting in Rio de Janeiro, no? Yes? Okay, please correct me if I am mistaken. In Rio de Janeiro, and then it was the Agenda 21.
Yes.
Okay? And for the first time talking about an agreement of intergovernmental panel of climate change. And the first meeting agreeing on taking care of biodiversity, the first agreement on a convention of biodiversity in the whole world. With heads of states of all the world signing. 2002. 20 years later, 2022, it was Rio plus 20, again in Rio, where they were reviewing all the commitments and reviewing how they were not really advancing as were committed. I think that
2012.
It was 20.
2012.
Yes.
Sorry?
Rio plus 20 2012, sir.
Yes.
Sir, in 1992,
Yes.
first summit was done. And after 20 years, 2012, Rio plus 20.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, and then 3 years later, we committed to a Millennium
Development Goals.
Then it was set up set a number of commitments in the Millennium
There were
Agreement.
eight objectives.
Okay. And then it's supposed to be compliant, but later on when we review, they were not compliant. They were not even speeding at the speed that we were thinking. Therefore, they say, okay, we stop and now we go into Agenda 2030. And then 2030 is just around the corner, no? It's, at that time was a long time, no? And now and then we can ask ourselves if we are really achieving the 17 different objectives
Failed.
that we have. Sorry?
Failed.
Failed.
Yeah, if we are achieving or not, no, we are failing, by the way. Well, the main purpose, if we think only the main purpose of each one of those was to eradicate poverty and inequality, failed. To protect the planet from degradation, failed. No? And from the effects of climate change. People are also talking about there is no climate change. That is good to have this change. And to guarantee human rights for everybody. And then you can see how many immigrants are having really a good treatment of human rights all around the world. Then, but this is what we have in the commitment of sustainable development around the world. Then, how this differentiates from what we have, from the economics that we teach. After all, you were receiving classes in the economic classes, and probably you have been seeing this. But when you see let's say the objective of the classes or each one of your careers, not only in economics but also in engineering and other things, is mostly driven to economic growth in what we call traditional development, traditional economics. And then we compare to sustainable development now. Then this is good for all of us. Now it's getting warmer now. Then we can see that we can change from economy based on fossil fuels to economy based on alternative energies. From carbon and greenhouse gas emissions, economy of carbon neutral. Waste and garbage economy with integrated waste management. Traditional technologies to cleaner technologies. Traditional education to education for sustainability. Traditional financial system to financial system with support of green businesses initiatives. Innovation systems, as we were reviewing yesterday, to sustainable innovation systems. Innovations for eco-innovations. Then we really can do the change. And we can change little bit by little bit and then trying to find a big change altogether. And this is happening in many things. For instance, in my university, we were teaching about that and we discussed about, well, we're talking too much about carbon, greenhouse gases emitted by the economy. But we are also emitting it in here, in the university. Then we decided to make a program, and we are now carbon neutral in the university. Somebody may say, this doesn't impact at all. But we are an example for all the universities and for other schools, and now there are many trying to do it. And we did, students with some of the faculty members. Then you can think, when I was a rector of the university, the first week I was there, I made we said a resolution to ban all styrofoam, you say styrofoam? Styrofoam glasses and dishes and so forth. There was a big complaint. I was almost getting a strike from everybody. Because the people say, how we're going want to eat now. We don't have glasses from styrofoam, and we don't have plates and so forth. And these are cheap. And of course, you don't want neither plastic ones. Well, we waited a little bit, and we encouraged the people to do a little bit. And then they start bringing different plates and glasses and so on, made of recycled products and fiber from banana and fiber from we reduce the price, and then we will start negotiating, and we are going to do a different approach. Then each one of these ones, we can start thinking how to change. Okay, we use a lot of diesel or petrol in order to have electricity. Well, can we change it to solar panels? Is it possible to put solar panels in our buildings? Is any policy, as you say, is any policy to encourage the people to do it? Or can we do it? Can we set an example for other society, for other schools or houses? Well, this is what we must think about in each one of these. Then the question is it possible to think that this fourth revolution that we are living in can be a green one, a green revolution, and sustainable? Is it possible? Many people will be, how to say, I am optimist. Other people will be pessimist. Nah, society cannot change. We cannot change. It's impossible to change. Policy, politicians are the same, all are terrible. Economists, they are driven by money. They don't care about the environment. Environmentalists, they are terrible. They don't want us to work. Businesses. Then are confrontations between the different groups. But if we really think that we can generate a dialogue instead of confrontation, we would be a more positive in the approach. I think my hypothesis is that yes, that we can and must. It's not only that we can, it's that we must make our effort to develop this green revolution, which we call sustainable development. We can promote it through concepts such as circular economy, green economy, bioeconomy. I don't care which one you are using or we are using. Each one is different. We are going to see them very quickly. But the point is to have a more sustainable world, a different approach of what we are having as traditional economy, and going more into the sustainable development one, going from this one to that one. And it's not easy because we are very much stuck in here. Our culture, our behavior, our hundreds of years of development, and as we were talking yesterday, path dependence is very important, is present there. And of course we can do with businesses and smart sustainable cities, for instance. I show you a couple of pictures. Let's see a couple examples, how we can change them. I'm sorry, these examples are going to be from Costa Rica, okay? But it could be also here. Deforestation process in the country. We had very nice and green country with, in 1940, 75 of the forest covered. 1950, 72. 1961, 53. 1977, the forest cover was only 31%. 1983, the forest cover was reaching 26. And in 1987, we were the famous country in the whole world because we were cutting the forest at the highest rate than any other country in the whole world, according to the size of the country. And we reached 21%. I mean, it's like thinking in advance, where you are taking off the clothes. It was a striptease of the forest. A striptease. I think the guys don't know what striptease means, no? And a striptease of the whole country. Amazing. Now, what could we do about it? Give me some ideas. How we can change something like this? We were in 1987. First question is why we want to change it. Let's go to zero. Or no? Is it a problem? It seems it was no problem. Nobody cared. And it was several decades of doing the same, and nobody cared. It was a pulp dependence already very strong. It was a behavior. We were teaching how to cut the trees. At the university we went from regular machines to very efficient machines. Probably you have a lot of forests in India also still. And the forest industry is every time more efficient. And they can cut the trees faster. And then we can take a use of the whole dimension in a better way and cheaper way. Well, the same was happening, but then we decided that we needed to change this. The point was what to do. Then the idea was, okay, why should we change? This is the first question. What do you think, why should we change? Why do you think that it should be stopped, this deforestation?
Because it's about problem in the society.
Problem in the society. You think the society were very worried about it? What else? Let's make an effort. Yes?
Global warming,
Global-
increase in the temperature.
Sorry, global warming. Okay? What forests need? What is the relation between forests and global warming?
So, due to deforestation, global warming is there, and increase in rise in the temperature.
Okay. Somebody is affected, no? With global warming. Probably the people that are having the forest, they are not very interested, no? But somebody is affected, no? Okay, what else?
The natural habitat, like animals are mainly affected.
What?
The animals were affected.
The animals are affected.
Indirectly, it is affecting
The natural habitat of the place gets affected.
Yeah.
Probably also indigenous people.
Indigenous people are affected.
They live around.
The tribal people are affected.
Okay, something else. Okay, then from the academy, from the students, it was easy to identify the problems. Now, the people that live in the forest say, yes, that's true. That's true. Carbon emissions with the forest cut is a problem, but I need to sell the forest because it's a way of providing me the maintenance of my family and my kids, and I need to cut it. Then you say, okay, the animals are unprotected and affected. Yeah, but the animals don't pay me anything for keeping the forest. Would you pay for that? I mean, you are very outstanding person in favor of taking care of animals, then pay for that. And you say, no, it should not be. I mean, I don't have no money, but if we should. But then, meanwhile, I will just keep cutting. Oh, okay, the indigenous people. The indigenous people, yes, but yeah, the indigenous people. But I need money. I need to live, and so forth. Then it's a complicated issue, no? And the same happened with all of issues that we review. We always will have answers that say, no, it's not possible. But in this case, what we did was we said, okay, let's take these examples, the same, that one you say carbon emissions, animals or biodiversity, I will call it, and indigenous population. And we will say, okay, we need to recognize that we are interested in keeping that. Okay. Why? Because the forest, yes, but also because the forest provides services. Okay? The forest is an asset. The forest is an asset. Okay? And this asset provides services. Like this building, this is an asset, and this building provides us the service to have classrooms and other areas. Actually, the university, somebody from the town say, I have a seminar and I will pay for using the halls or whatever. Yes, we can rent it, no problem. You provide services. Okay, it can also be depreciated if you don't maintain. But the forest also is depreciated if we are cutting them. But then let's first think from the economic point of view, not very much from the environmental one right now, but let's see, we have an asset and we want to protect this asset because it produces services. Services of capturing carbon, services of maintaining biodiversity, services of keeping the water cycle running, okay? Services of natural scenery, because if you live in the city, you say, okay, this weekend, what do you want to do? Let's go to the forest. Okay, let's go to the forest. To enjoy the forest, to breathe a different kind of air, to see the animals, to share with people. Then this is also interesting and important, for instance, in Costa Rica, especially for tourism. Then we say, okay, let's figure it out. How we can do something that had not been done. In other words, what is it? In other words, if we think in something that is new, is what? Innovation. Let's think in an innovation. Innovation in the forest. And in the forest management, and then let's think in payment for environmental services. And then we took let's say the forest or the areas of the country, and then we have, of course, the forest upstream, downstream over the cities. As you can see here, well, you cannot see very much, but there are the buildings, and the roads, and the neighborhoods, and here the river coming, here is a dam to produce electricity, and up the stream is the forest, the leftover the forest we had, because it was cut down all around. But this forest, we didn't want the people continue cutting it. Then we said, okay, why we don't want them to cut it? Because they provide services. How we pay for these services? What kind of services? And then there is a study worldwide already developed, or was already developed at that time, that identify at least 17 different services. But we choose the one that you mentioned first, carbon sequestration. Second, water and cycle maintenance. Third, biodiversity conservation. And fourth, natural scenery. And we said, okay, let's go and try to pay for these 4 services. What happened? I made a mistake 31, then I will try to run, but this part is important you to understand, because the innovation is not coming from nobody, from nowhere. The innovation is coming from the discussion and the interaction, as we reviewed yesterday. No, the innovation is not being learned only from the books. Everybody knew that the forest was keeping carbon, but nobody recognized it. When we were kids at the school, they say it's good to have plants because the plants breathe carbon dioxide and liberate oxygen, and you breathe oxygen and liberate carbon dioxide. That was the teaching. I knew from when I was a kid, but nobody recognized that in money terms, in the economy, And then when we destroy the whole forest, then we say, oh, yes, now we have no oxygen anymore. Okay, let's put an environmental payment service. The environmental payment service is a compensation for the environment services, not for the forest. We are not paying the forest. We are only paying the service of keeping it that can be generated by forest or forest plantations in private properties. Actually, if she has the forest, let's see, let's change the owner, huh? Because you are the owner before. She has the forest, then I pay. Now, but she said, I have a land that before has a forest. I needed to cut it, but now I can plant trees if you want. Do you think that her trees will capture carbon the same that your forest that is already grown? No, you don't think so? What do you think?
Could be.
Could be? Somebody from biology here? A new plantation keep forest or not? Keep carbon or not? Of course it does. The plants that we were watering yesterday, they are growing, they are capturing carbon.
Yes.
Yes.
This is carbon. Carbon peaks here.
Yes, sir.
If we burn this, it will be carbon smoke.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Actually, if you plant it, it will be much better than even yours, because yours is forests that have been there for hundreds of years. Then they're already old. But hers are new ones. Who do you think that need more energy and more carbon sequestration? The ones that are growing and growing. Okay? Then she can have forest plantations. That's why here we have forest plantations, not only forests. Okay? And private properties. Okay? Then we pay for the people to have forest plantation. And now, if you plant a tomato, you want to keep the tomato forever, or you want to harvest it? Harvest it. If you plant forest, you want to cut it or not? No, you can keep it forever, but you can also get the approach of plantation. The same that planting a tomato or a lettuce or a vegetable. You cut it and you fix it. If you burn it, it's different. But if you fix it in tools, in chairs and desks and so on, this is the carbon sequestrated. Then we set a law with these kind of innovations that were not really innovations. Everybody know that. But now it's different because now we are recognizing the economic point of view, and we are recognizing it also in the market. And we create this forest law, 75-75, recognizing 4 things: the mitigation of greenhouse effect gases, the protection of water resources, the protection of biodiversity, and the protection of the scenic beauty. Then, in order to do that, because let's suppose all of this part of the class were planting forests and keeping the forest. But all this part of the class may be paying for the forest services. But you don't know each other. And there is no market where you can share or trade things. Then we needed to create an instrument to do that. Then we create something that it was called FONAFIFO, National Fund for Forest, for Financial Forest. National Fund for Financial Forest. Okay? Where they receive resources and they also account for the services that are committed. Then the forest owners and service providers already knew that they have these 4 things according to the law, and then they say, okay, FONAFIFO, I can give you 100 tons of carbon, fix it in the next 10 years in my trees. or I can keep the forest for how long, 10 years or 20 years or whatever. Then Fonavivo has already, let's say, the asset and say, okay, I have now this asset that is the commitment of this thing, and then I can sell it to the people that want. Then the people that want forest services, consumers, here is forest services providers, and there is consumers, are demanding those services, and then there is a environmental service going here, then providing there, and they are paying here to Fonavivo, and Fonavivo pay here. Of course, there is necessary to check, to have auditing, because you may see, okay, I keep the forest, and then later on, when you receive the money, you cut the forest. But then the idea is to have everything. Also, the water. This is a copy of a receipt of water in my country. This is a receipt of water. And this is the consumption of every month. The quantity of cubic meters of our regular family. Then we include a very, very small, tiny amount to pay for the water. We convince the people and say, okay, you have been paying very cheap, but you have been paying only for the connection of the pipes and the filtration of the water and so on, but not for the maintenance of the water cycle with the forest. Then we are going to change to charge a small water tariffs to maintain the forest cover that guarantees the functioning of the water. And it was 230 colones, that is 0.42 cents per 19 cubic meters. That was the amount of this. It was equivalent to 0.0222 per cubic meter. Very, very, very tiny. Because it was very tiny, nobody cares very much. But once you put all this together from everybody paying, it's really a good amount that is added to the amount that we were also charging for water sequestration. What happened? What happened after that? Here is the same map. 1977, it went from 23 to 31. 1983. It was. They were the last 3 years that were in the previous image. It was 21, no? When we when we invented or created this. 1977, it went to 42 percentage of the total territory in forest, 47 in the 2000, 51 in the 2005, and 52.38 in the 2010. This is the result of the forest policy that was going down, it went going up. No country in the whole world have been switching from forest cover to from forest deforestation to revegetation. Now we have this revegetated country, and now we are increasing in tourism because more people are coming to see the monkeys, the parrots, the animals, and so forth. We have more visitors per year than inhabitants we have in the country, precisely because the green approach. And then the program, of course, needed to include technical innovation, organizational innovation, because the whole organization in a different way, and of course social innovation, because many groups in the society, especially peasants, were included in there, environmental innovation, and it needed to do in an incremental way, because every time, every year, every month, we were including new things because it was something totally new and we didn't know how it was going to work. And it had been disseminated already in other countries like Bolivia, Brazil, Colombia, Mexico, and other countries. And in October 21, Costa Rica obtained the prize, National Earthshot Prize from United Kingdom. Then I'm going to leave the other example of coffee for you after the coffee break. It's okay?
Yes, sir.
It's having